Three, two, one. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Classroom 3. I'm glad that we are finally here. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to bring my old audio unit to Park Rose because of how big the classes are and how noisy they are. But if you've made it this far, you've proved you're responsible. Usually we do this before the Scratch coding and game making piece, so you'll have like a higher skill level in doing audio and editing audio, because I think that's really important to get to that high level in coding, is to know not only how to make it look great and sound great, then you focus on the code to make it work great. When we bring that all together, that's the pillar we've been missing, and we can get to it now. So to start that off, what we're gonna do is jump into an online editor called Soundtrap. If you go to Soundtrap, the link should be in the Google Classroom bio, this should pop up. Now, something that trips students up right away, and this is actually really important, is when you click join now, do not press education use. Because if you do education use, that's the paid version. We're going to be doing the free version. So you're going to click personal use, and it's going to take you to login. You're just going to sign up with Google and use your school email. So that'll create a personal account for you. Start right into your profile page here. And you can fill this out with any information you want. I have my first project here as an example. What you'd want to do to record your first is you're going to click Enter Studio, and that's going to pop you up in a blank project and bring up the audio editor. If you have ever experienced with a GarageBand, this will be fairly similar. There's a couple preset templates, and it'll be interesting to look at here. So if I jump into this podcast, you'll see the basic setup of a multi-track podcast here. So I'm gonna press spacebar. Spacebar is gonna be your main play pause. And the intro music starts to come on and is playing, and then the voices come. It's a 2-track, so there's 2 mics being recorded. Anyway, so I'm going to turn that off right now, and I'm going to jump over to my project that I have here. You'll notice a few things first. You'll have all your channels on your left. You'll have individual volume control. If you left click, you can kind of drag that around. You can also mute channels by clicking on the mute, and they'll get grayed out. We're going to work a lot in the next 2 projects on the basics, which are basically adding channels, mixing, controlling levels. But before we do that, we want to start on to the basics of looping in a multi-track environment. So to do that, I'm going to stop talking, and let's watch the beginnings of their videos. If you click up here on tutorials, left click, there'll be video tutorials, and that'll bring out a couple. I want you guys to watch the intro video, and they'll go over things really quickly, and then I'll go over them a little bit more in depth. Press play and go and watch that right now, and I'll see you in just a second. Welcome back. So hopefully you have a general sense of it. If you want to watch their version of the videos for tutorials, you can go to the next one, which is the crash course, and they have ones on loops and synthesizers and all kinds of stuff. One of the really neat things about Soundtrap, and you'll see this in a second, is if you left click up here. Now, while a lot of them are locked behind the paywall, there's a lot of sound effects and loops that we can use for free built into the system. So if you click over here on the right side, we'll see what some of those loops look like. Here's a bass effect, for example. Now, some of them are pretty basic. Save it, I click heart, and that will add it to your favorites. It takes a little while to start to get good at Soundtrap, but one of the main things is once you have favorited about 20 or 30 different sounds that are kind of the sounds that you like making audio out of, it makes things a lot easier. When you're just randomly searching around, it makes things a little difficult. So I suspect that you'll have a little trouble getting started, but once you've worked with it for about a week, everything will start to smooth out. The reality is that we can bring in any of the audios we want to, and we can also play our own. And that's one of the coolest things. At SEI last year when I was working on this, I had 2 MIDI keyboards. We plugged them in, and then so we've got this play the synth. If I click on that, there's all these different instruments and styles of instruments that we can play. Now on the keyboard, you'll notice that the letters match. Now, I'm a terrible musician, really bad at audio, but I'm sure some of you, especially in band, have a lot more chops than I do as far as reading music and different things like that. But you can click through and you can adjust the resonance, the frequency. So basically, you have something like 1,000 different electronic instruments you can play with your keyboard. There's cell phone versions, so you can start to kind of like play drums on phone to create beats. Those beats will automatically be saved into your project, and then you can start to create background audio or sound effects and start to mess around and build things up. What we are doing for assignment 1, first thing I want you to do is favorite at least 10 sound effects. I want you to import 1 bit of audio that you've used before. So that's going to be one of those MP3s or one of those WebM that you converted to an MP3, and 1 object audio that you made with the synth or the play patterns. So if I click back over here, you can also do the beat maker. So these are a couple different, there's the piano roll, instrumentals. So you can play by click. There's just a ton of different instruments here. Again, as you play more and more, you'll start to be able to assemble your favorites. You can heart them and they'll be in your presets collection. So when you have 10 favorited loops, when you've brought in a piece of audio, you've played a piece of audio and you've used 3 different loops to make something that's at least 20 seconds, you've explored. Now what we're going to do is you're going to click save, and it's going to save your project. You're probably going to want to name it too. So what you want to do is come up here on the top right and you want to select it. I'll do Mr. Higgins' first song or beat or whatever. And when that's finished, so you'll click save. It's going to take a little while to process the mixing, and then you'll be able to get a download. So when I'm done here, I'm going to exit my studio. And what you want to turn in for this first assignment is when it's finished mixing, you'll get a download audio. Click that download, you get an MP3, you attach that to 3.1 part 1, and you'll be good to go. I'm excited to see what you make. Bye.